About a year ago, I set out on a mission. And that mission, originally, was just to read every series in Weekly Shonen Jump from its inception. Terrible idea. Don't ever try to do that. You will get so engrossed in the history of this fucking company and getting so upset at how inaccessible these manga are, and then you try to look up, why can't I access these manga? Why is it so hard to find them? It's because these motherfuckers are so goddamn wasteful. Okay, it's so difficult to just read all of it without learning too much fucking information. What I'm about to tell you today, most people can probably find out for themselves, to be honest. But this is the beginning of a series of videos leading to my entire read-through of all Shonen Jump comics. Today we're going to be talking about the eras of Shonen Jump. I don't know what the next one will be on, but the more I start deep diving into Shonen Jump's history throughout these videos, you'll see how tough it is being a shonen historian. And if you don't know, which there's no way you don't know, if you're watching this video, you know. But to introduce people, Shonen Jump, also known as Weekly Shonen Jump, is a comic giant known for dropping 3 things: GOAT-tier manga, a whole lot of mid, and canceling every good series they've ever serialized. And when I say Shonen Jump, also known as Weekly Shonen Jump, it started as Shonen Jump, and then later in in 1969 they started doing it weekly. It was originally bi-weekly. It's weekly. It's Weekly Shonen Jump, okay? You know what the fuck it is, okay? You read Naruto or watched it growing up. You've seen One Piece. Alright. You all read Mid Hero Academia now. Okay. This isn't new. But when I tell you that researching Shonen Jump is hell, and trying to access these old manga is hell, it's not a joke. With that being said, let's get to categorizing all of the eras of Shonen Jump. So here we have year 0, or you could consider the Dark Ages. We don't have a lot of manga from here that we can still read or even really know about because Shonen Jump is so fucking wasteful, as usual. So this basically encapsulates most of the early 70s and 1968, 1969. So the deal here is, this is the beginning of Shonen Jump. So obviously, we have to talk about, and we'll get to this in another video, but the first series in WSJ, which is Kujira Daigo. Now, what is that? It's a series. It's an 11 chapter series about a big old guy named Daigo, and he's just a kid, and it's racist, and they hate women because it's 1968. It's pretty sick. And all you really need to know is that that was the beginning, and in true Shonen Jump fashion, it really showed where the company would head early on, because it was cancelled after 11 chapters. And then we get to other series of this era, which most of them pretty bad, or you can't read them in an efficient way. It's possible to read all these, but you have to do so much digging to track it down, and it's difficult. Here you get to, you know, your modern influences, I guess, in a sense. The reason that Shonen Jump is the way it is. So, you have Harinji Gakuen, which that series is written by Go Nagai, and is really known for, it basically is the progenitor of ecchi as a whole, as a subgenre. People didn't like it. Who would have thought? People didn't like that in a kids magazine. Eventually they realized that Shonen Jump wasn't marketed directly towards kids, but people didn't like seeing titties in their kids magazine. So a lot of shit goes down that results in Go Nagai basically becoming a giant troll and we'll talk more about that later, but keep the name Go Nagai in mind, because he did a lot. He did a lot, but also he's not a good person, but also he's a giant troll, and I will forever respect him for that. Now, there are only really 2 more influential manga from this time period. You have, can I get this name right? Hold on, guys, I have to prepare. Otoko Ipiki Gaki Daisho.
Success!
Which is a series that basically is the reason the shonen tropes exist. It's about a guy, his dad dies, okay? Don't remember how he dies. I think he was like a sailor or something. He wants to be the main character wants to be a strong guy just like his dad, okay? And he just becomes a gang leader and tries to take over Japan. Sounds a lot more sinister than it is. He's a kid. It's like when Usopp was like, oh, I have an army of 8,000. It's like that. He gets a little gang together. He's like, I want to unify Japan. It's all right, cool, whatever. But the manga that appears like halfway through the Year Zero or Dark Age period is probably the most influential one, the one that is the biggest deal, and that is Mazinger Z. If you don't know what Mazinger Z is, that's the progenitor of the mecha genre. So all you fucking NGE fans and you fucking Gundam players. That match made me transphobic.
Right. Everything we are, we're just the opposite.
I hate trans people, I hate gay people, I hate people of color. I hate women. I hate men.
Top G. Like, whoa.
Maybe Andrew Tate isn't so bad after all.
You was spitting for real. Like, oh my god. What happened, senor?
Okay, this is why that exists. It came out in 1972 and was released at the same time as Devilman was being released in another publication by none other than Go Nagai. That's right, Go Nagai wrote both fucking Mazinger Z and Devilman and was doing them at the same time. Devilman revolutionized ultra-violent manga as a whole and adult-oriented manga as a whole. Because Devilman was released as a fire bag about Harenchi Gakuen. Because the concept was, oh, you guys don't like seeing titties? Okay, well, I'm just gonna make it super fucking gory, violent, and just vulgar, and just the worst media you've ever seen. Not in like it's bad type of way, but like a worse as in like gross, like gritty type shit. And he was releasing that at the same time he released Mazinger Z. And Mazinger Z is the reason we have mecha anime. And basically, he did a lot. He did a lot for y'all. But also, he's not a good person. But I'm not gonna dive into the history of that right now. But yeah, with that basically categorizes everything important about the Dark Age period. See, what we're gonna be doing from every period from here on out is, yeah, we're gonna go over, you know, the important manga from that period and like the influences, but also we're really just gonna talk a lot about the era itself. Here we only went over the manga because it kind of is the baseline for all other manga past and all the other eras past this point. That, and there's really not much we know about the Dark Age period of Shonen Jump. You know, we know how it was formed. We know that they get Go Nagai on board. We know that, you know, the first editor-in-chief kind of didn't care about the longevity of these manga past its release, so they were released on really thin, really weak paper. And that's why we don't have a lot of these mangas still intact, because it was really you read the magazine, you throw it away. With that being said, let's head to the next era, the Silver Age, or as some people call it, the Gold Age, depending on your preference. But all that matters here is that you know that these are the Toriyama years. Now, where the fuck do we start with the Toriyama years, the Silver Age? Well, I guess for starters, we got our first anniversary games, which there is at least one of in every era from this point on. So in the Silver Age, we get Jump Ultimate Stars, which is kind of a celebration of both the Golden Age and the Silver Age. And it comes out during the Golden Age in like the early 2000s, but we'll count it because it's kind of intertwined. I'll elaborate more on this later in the video. The reason I bring these games up is simply because they're like an anniversary thing they're meant to celebrate. You know, you get all the big series of the time celebrated in these games, okay? So the games are important because it kind of does show you what they prioritized at the time. And in the Silver Age, it starts around 1975, 1976, around then. Now, a lot of these earlier manga, again, weren't super influential. We don't have a lot of information on. They don't matter that much. A lot of them were mid anyways. And look, if you are a manga boomer and you for some reason are a fan of 1968 to 1976 Shonen Jump exclusively, then I'm sorry, dog. Do better. This era's first big shonen is Kochikame. Now, what is Kochikame? A lot of you probably don't know. It ended in 2016. It normalized long-running series in Shonen Jump. It was the first real long-running series. I mean, some series ran for maybe like 6-7 years, but this planned on being just a weekly gag manga, your weekly morning comics, okay? And so it kind of inspired a lot of gag manga writers, which gag manga, very important for Shonen Jump later on, past the Silver Age. And also, like I said, it was the first series to normalize a long serial release. So, thank these guys for the reason that One Piece is going on for fucking goddamn 20, 30 years. I don't fucking know. 85 years going on. Damn near. Can thank it for the reason that JoJo's is hello, and also the reason that Shonen tries to be funny, because this is the first. I mean, there was some other gag manga here and there, but this is the first. Hey, it's a funny one, and that's literally it. But that's not what matters, because 4 years later, in 1979, we get the first series that really matters for Shonen. Not even just Shonen Jump, Shonen as a whole. Now listen. This era gets crazy really fast. It scales like a fucking Chainsaw Man chapter. This Silver Age starts off kind of weak. Starts off with a what the fuck is going on, and then you just see a meteoric rise, and then an immediate, and I mean immediate, transition into the Golden Age. Okay, because here's the thing about the Silver Age. The Silver Age is kind of the thing that pieced together all future shows, or shonen, you know, anime, manga, whatever. The reason a lot of them are like that is because of these. Silver Age, big, important. That's why I call it the Silver Age. It was the formation period. It's not necessarily because of the quality of manga as opposed to today or the Golden Age. But we'll get to that. So this first series that really matters is Kinnikuman. Kinnikuman? Gigantic. Okay, gigantic shonen. It's the reason that Battle Shonen is the way it is. And normalize the concept of the goofy protagonist, right? It's also, and something I'm personally a fan of, is that it wasn't necessarily marketed towards kids. It was marketed towards an all ages type audience, with the main character actually being around 23 years old. Kinnikuman, I'm gonna do videos on this series. This is a very big series. It's not the only big series of this period, but it is a gigantic series. A lot of your favorite manga writers, this is their favorite manga. Okay? This is the dare I say, MF Doom of manga. It's your favorite manga writer's favorite manga. Full Metal Alchemist fans? Kinnikuman.
Hey.
Dragon Ball fans? Kinnikuman.
Hey.
One Piece fans? What's that? Kinnikuman. Oh, get this. My Hero fan? Kinnikuman. If you just want to know the origin of a lot of Battle Shonen tropes, and not the bad ones, this is where you get it. The concept of willpower, the concept of friendship, all that here. And that's what matters. And another thing that matters about this era is, as previously mentioned, our next stop is Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump mainly matters because it's a gag manga that took inspiration from the 2 previous series I just named. But also, guess who wrote Dr. Slump? This is the start of this motherfucker's reign of terror. Akira Toriyama. This motherfucker launched WSJ into the limelight. To this day, I've researched a lot of this. Dragon Ball kinda just got lucky. Did it have a real reason to pop off everywhere in the world like it did? Not really, no. No, it didn't. But it did. Oh, it did. Can't go nowhere without hearing about this bitch. No more. Hear about Dragon Ball everywhere I fucking go. Which, to be fair, I'm Hispanic, so it's in my blood. You know, it's Dragon Ball. It's like Dragon Ball was made for us, damn near. You'd be hard pressed to not think that. But regardless, this motherfucker starts his reign of terror here in the early 80s. And that matters because of a series that gets released in the late 80s that we'll get to. But on the way there, we gotta talk about 2 major shonen on the way to this late 80s series that connect the dots. Late 80s series, Akira Toriyama. What the fuck do you think it is? Alright, so first we have Captain Tsubasa, which it's like a big influential series for sports shonen, because it kind of showed the first long-running sports shonen outside of the Dark Ages, and it's well known for its character development. So, team-based manga as a whole kind of used this as a blueprint and was like, hey, you know, we can just have our characters evolve around each other like this. It's kind of cool. And then I talked about it like it was something light, but we have one more series to talk about before Dragon Ball in the late 80s. This motherfucker, right here, is the second half of the grandparents of shonen. If Kinnikuman Man is the MF Doom, Fist of the North Star is the Andre 3K of manga. Fist of the North Star, also known as HNK, Hokuto no Ken, is the start of, one could even call it its own era. It takes place in the Silver Age and Golden Age. It's something that rolls over, so it's its own thing. It's its own category / genre, not necessarily its own era. But the manly era of shonen starts with Fist of the North Star. Without this guy, you don't get your other half. JoJo's? Him. Fist of the North Star. Dragon Ball? Also. Fist of the North Star. What's that? Bobobo. Fist of the North Star. Mob Psycho 100. Fist of the North Star. Okay, alright. Hunter x Hunter. In One Piece. Fist of the North Star. He's here. Knock, knock, knock. Who's that? It's the goat. And then, after Fist of the North Star, I don't even need to talk about this series, okay? But this motherfucker rolls in here like he owns the goddamn place. Dragon Ball. The beginning of Toriyama's reign of terror started in around 1981-1982 with Dr. Slump. It ended pretty fast after like a year of publication, and then he returned. Look at him. He's everywhere. If you're watching this video and you somehow don't know what Dragon Ball is, that's not something for me to explain. That's not a me issue. That's you. That's a you issue. I don't think I even need to talk about it. But this guy basically is the progenitor of the Golden Age. We're not exactly at the Golden Age yet, because we have a few more series in the late 80s that kind of make up the rest of the Silver Age that kind of inspire everything afterwards. But Dragon Ball kickstarts this bitch hard, because we start getting to the goats because of Dragon Ball. We got a few other series released near the end of the Silver Age, which the Silver Age ends around 1988, 1990. We'll say the Golden Age starts in 1990. So from Dragon Ball to then, we have City Hunter, gag, romance, action manga. Not bad, but if you wanted to know the reason for all your shitty romance and romance tropes in specifically shonen manga, this guy, fuck him. That's City Hunter's fault. So basically, I have beef, even if it is good. Then we have 3 major hitters near the end of the Silver Age that I will briefly cover, except for one we might need to go a little more in depth on. But we have Sakigake Otokujuku, which, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of it's another thing that was inspired by Fist of the North Star. It's kind of a lost one. People don't really pay attention to it anymore, even though it was really influential for the time, and honestly, a lot of manga still take from it to this day. But essentially, it was a series all about subverting expectations. And so a lot of shonen tropes were kind of started being thrown out the windows with this series, and it kind of showed other writers that it was okay to do that. Also, the reason that tournament arcs are so grandiose, the reason they're such a big deal, this guy, Sakigake Otokojuku. Greatest tournament arc in manga history to this day. And the whole entire reason that arcs are so grandiose now is not only are they inspired, but I feel like everybody wants to try to compare to this tournament arc, and they just cannot. Read that one. Same with Fist of the North Star. Read that one too. And Kinnikuman. Then we get Senseiya, inspired by HNK, and along with Dragon Ball, normalized transformations. I mean, it's just that simple. It's transformations and superpowers, which, hey, we can all get behind some good transformations. That is my one allotted trans joke for the video. Alright. From here on out, I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Alright. And the final manga near the end of the Silver Age, released in 1987, is a giant, inspired by Fist of the North Star and the ideas of an up-and-coming shonen writer by the name of Hirohiko Araki. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And again, like Dragon Ball, I shouldn't need to tell you at this point, okay? But also, it's just a giant point of inspiration for a lot of writers is JoJo's. From here on out, basically, every series you read or I talk about in this video has some kind of inspiration from JoJo's. Like, yeah, you know, we all know the overplayed out bit of like, is that a JoJo reference? But like, everybody does reference it in some way, shape, or form because it's just, it had that much growing power over the manga scene at the time, and to this day, honestly. So a lot of the Golden Age series are inspired. A lot of these Silver Age series matter because of the Golden Age. Which, speaking of which, let's get to the Golden Age. Or should I say, the era of the Big Three. Starting in the 90s, we have the Golden Age, the era of the Big Three. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Big Three don't really come until the late 90s, early 2000s, but you gotta think of all of the things that exist in this era, which we will get to, don't worry. A big thing about this era is this is also where Shonen Jump starts seeing some of the biggest successes it's ever had, but it also starts going down the downward spiral of canceling a lot of shonen, which we don't talk about many canceled shonen here because obviously they don't get their time in the limelight to influence, but I will eventually do a video covering canceled series. Now, let's level for a second. They are doing some crazy shit, y'all, in the Golden Age. Alright, these are the era where all the people swear that, oh, the anime fans weren't allowed to talk about anime in school or else we'd get bullied, which to an extent was true, but also a lot of them lie and leave out the part where they tried to do Diable Jam in class and got made fun of for it. But another thing that matters here is we have 3 anniversary games here, which one of them appeared beforehand. We have Jump Ultimate Stars. Now you may be wondering, why is it even here? It's more of a Golden Age game anyways. Well, it's kind of a last hurrah for the Silver Age. Jump Ultimate Stars. It kind of celebrates both eras, so it's kind of a send-off, you know? But we also get J-Star's Victory vs. Plus later on, which starts a downward trend of Shonen Jump anniversary games being dog shit. But anime fans eat that shit up anyway, so who am I to talk? Now, we move on to Jump Superstars, which is the prequel to Jump Ultimate Stars. It was released a year before, and I should have talked about this before, but I completely forgot. It's more of a celebration of the Golden Age, surprisingly, than Jump Ultimate Stars, because it mainly just has the big shonen of the era. It was released in 2005, right off the high of the big three, and then along came Jump Ultimate Stars, which was more expansive and had a lot more Silver Age comics in it, giving representation to series people of the era may not have known about. Wish they'd do that now, but nobody cares if it's not still making money. Now, moving on to a few influential manga from the beginning of the Golden Age, we'll probably breeze over a decent few of them, until we get to the obvious thing. So, we have Slam Dunk, which really just revolutionized sports manga, period. Without Slam Dunk, everybody else, not as good. Just is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. Yu Yu Hakusho. This is another series where it's like, I shouldn't need to explain it. It's not as popular as JoJo's or Dragon Ball, but it's just such a big inspiration for a lot of manga authors and artists because of how revolutionary it was. But I can't list it as directly influencing other things in shonen, like a lot of the Silver Age and Year Zero series do, because it's just its own thing. And maybe that's what it really revolutionized, is like the concept of having a story as an experience. Because character writing and just world building were out of this world with Yu Yu Hakusho. And so that might be what it really inspired in other writers, if it inspired anything. We have another smaller series with Hell Teacher Nube, which I know you probably haven't even heard of. It's not super niche, but it's not your average anime fan's choice. It's kind of whatever. It's not the best series, but it's a good example of a shonen that can really grasp fundamentals directed towards all ages. And you'd be surprised how many artists and authors are influenced by this series and how it presented itself. So I don't want to disrespect it. I'll give it its flowers. Look at that. After that, Yu-Gi-Oh, which, if it revolutionized anything, it is the concept of marketability. It's the concept of selling your series beyond itself. And also they have Kaiba, which matters because Kaiba is the best one. Same with Joey. And then, what's another minor one we have? Eyes. Eyes is around in that time period. You probably don't know it. It's good. It's not that good. But if you want to know why half of the harem tropes that exist, fuck this guy. He's right here. Yeah, if you want to know why harems are the way they are, it's because of Eyes. So, there you go. And then we start getting to the shit, man. We've got, in 1997, a little indie series starts up, something you probably never heard of. One Piece. I can't, it's hard for me to talk about any of these, big three shonen. Because it's why the fuck wouldn't you know about them at this point? Yu-Gi-Oh! Paved the way for marketing yourself outside of your story, and the big three followed up on that. So, One Piece, a lot of modern writers are inspired by One Piece, and One Piece is still ongoing. Because Oda's world building and story writing is otherworldly, which, to some extent, is thanks to predecessors before him. He obviously has a little bit of character writing cues that he kind of got the idea from Yu Yu Hakusho, and he's heavily inspired by Kinnikuman, Man, even to the point where Panda Man is a recurring gag character in One Piece, which Panda Man was a fan submission character from Oda for Kinnikuman, Man. And Dragon Ball is a huge influence. You see all these things getting pieced together into these goated series that start to come out. After One Piece, Hunter x Hunter revolutionizes battle shonen as a whole, and everybody is a big fan of. I don't know why the name is escaping me. I think it's Togashi. I'm not 100% certain. But the writer of Hunter x Hunter, a lot of his colleagues and peers were inspired by how good he did his series, by how good he does battle shonen as a whole. And also, a reason that so many fight scenes in that era are peak is because of him, right? Obviously, it's because of the predecessors that came before, Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star really paving the way for fights, but Hunter x Hunter's handling of them is the reason that everybody does them so well in this time period. After that, we have Shaman King, which revolutionizes it in a bad way, by the sense of it's very popular, very good series. I will never shit talk Shaman King. However, if you want to know why the shonen curse exists, which is the curse that shonen are cursed to have just the worst endings imaginable, it's because of Shaman King. I'm almost certain that Shaman King placed that curse. After Shaman King, we have Prince of Tennis, which kinda matters for manga outside of sports, but really just pushed the bar for sports shonen. But we'll talk about it for a little bit as a whole. It's surrealism, I guess. It's a manga that shows how a manga can push boundaries and make it as realistic as possible while still being absolutely batshit insane. It's still deranged, and it's just a fucking tennis manga. I I don't know what to tell you. Prince, it's an experience. And then we start hitting the late golden age, the early 2000s with Naruto. Look, y'all, if you don't know about Naruto, that's not my fault. Okay? If you're not familiar with Naruto, if you don't look that man Naruto in the eyes and go, that is the strongest motherfucker I know, then that's not my fault. Okay? That's yours. The big three just changed the game and paved the way for everything after, and it's hard to say otherwise. Along with helping push Shonen Jump into the mainstream, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece all just did so much, and this leads into my next topic, which is Bleach. Again, if you don't know, you don't know. That's not my fault. I'm not even a big Bleach fan, okay? I'll be honest. I think Bleach is mid, but you cannot ignore how much it did. You gotta give it its respect, give it its flowers, give it its credit, okay? Without Bleach, you don't got none of these new shonen, even the good ones, okay? That's just how it is. And to wrap the golden age up, we have a few series outside of the big three. We have Bobobo, which in a sense is the exact opposite of Prince of Tennis. It's how deranged can it be before it wraps back around to making sense. Obviously taking inspiration from Fist of the North Star being a parody of it, a gag manga parody of it, and Sakigake Otokojuku by using the art of subversion of expectations. And the fact that it was a gag manga only helped it do that. So, big deal. It's a big fucking deal. And it also kind of leads into the creator of Gintama making Gintama, which, if you don't know about Gintama, that's next on our list. The GOAT. That's all. Just the GOAT. Inspired everything past this point. From gag manga, to battle shonen, to emotional story writing, all the beats it hits. And everybody uses Gintama as an example of how to hit those beats. So, there's not much else to talk about beyond that. Then we have two more series. We have To Love Ru, which on paper doesn't fucking matter, right? It doesn't. Not a good series. People don't really care about it. Not too memorable. Except, you want to know why ecchi harem is so prevalent and is the way it is? There he is. To Love Ru. It's because of To Love Ru. That's why ecchi harem is the way that it is. That's why it's a thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're the reason for the collapse of seasonal shows. I see you. Don't hide. And then we'll end on a lighter note. Death Note, which paved the way for adult storytelling. As everybody that reads Death Note, watches Death Note, doesn't matter. Everybody remembers it as just good. Not bad. A little bit above average, but not great. Just good. But it's such a good place to start, because it's easy to get engrossed in. And it's a really big note in a lot of anime fans' lives, especially. Also, again, worked with the big three to help normalize and kind of bring to the mainstream these major shonen titles. With that being said, we have one more age to talk about. And this one's for the Zoomers. We're going to be talking about the digital age, or the modern era. Alright, So now we're in the modern era, or the digital age. Now, here's the thing. Very divisive age. You got the old head saying that it's ass. You got the new kids saying that everything up before it was whack. You got kids growing up that don't even know who Naruto is. They say Boruto's dad. Unironically, you've got fucking everybody saying that Jujutsu Kaisen's the next thing. Look, this isn't about the debates or the controversy surrounding this era of shonen. So, I'll ask you this. For everybody that makes it this far in the video, I would like you to respond to this question in the comments, and you can even elaborate on it if you want. Look, is it a platinum age or a bronze age currently? Are we in a peak or a plateau? Are we a W or are we an L? Please inform me how you think the modern era is, which is everything from around 2012 to currently. Let me know where you think we are with that. Also, if you've made it this far, I would just like to be cringe for a second and say, hey, trying to reach 50 subscribers by the end of the month. Go ahead and like the fucking video. Oh yeah, I'm going there. Go ahead and like the fucking video. Go ahead and leave the comment telling me what you think this era is. Alright? With that, let's get into the modern era. First off, it don't matter, y'all. Like, we got Jump Force. That's tough. That's a tough one to come to terms with, okay? I played it. I was there. Okay, we gotta do better, y'all. We gotta do better. The first big manga in the modern era. Like, we have a few inspirational ones. You know, we have, well, Assassination Classroom. We have Psyche K. We have stuff like that, but the first big one I'll say is roughly around 2013 with the start of Haikyuu, which I haven't read, but I know enough to say this, okay, without going too technical, because obviously I haven't read it. It brought sports manga into the mainstream, and you can't deny that. The manga was very well selling statistically, and then the anime made sports shonen as a whole. It put it on the fucking map, okay? It made it huge. It's not necessarily inspirational or groundbreaking, because I couldn't find too many people being like, yeah, Haikyuu is the reason I write and stuff like that, but I'm sure there's some sports artists that find some sense of camaraderie with the author and stuff. But it definitely put them on the map. Haikyuu puts sports shonen on the map, and then 2014 hits. No Forest Hills, My Hero Academia. And man, let me tell you, this isn't a video about me talking shit about My Hero Academia. I'm not gonna talk about Mid Hero Academia like that, okay? I'm not gonna talk about my feelings towards it, but I will say what it did. My Hero Academia, the anime, which came out, 2015, 2016, a year or two after the manga started. I've been reading the manga since the beginning, so, you know, I was glad to see the anime take off. Eventually I did drop it because of something I'll make a video about later. But My Hero Academia's anime started bringing shonen as a whole up. You cannot deny it. Off of the high of the big three, especially Naruto's end, and off of the high from Haikyuu being so successful, My Hero Academia's anime really started pushing its way forward like a fucking cancer that spreads and you cannot defeat it. But it did a lot for shonen anime as a whole. Around this time, you also get Black Clover, which kind of just exists as competition for the other big shonen at this time. It's not necessarily groundbreaking or inspirational. You can tell it's very heavily influenced by things like One Piece and Naruto, the big three essentially, Bleach. It's all there, you can tell. But it's a pretty decent manga that kind of exists to just compete with the other big manga going on right now. It might be an industry plant, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Black Clover might be an industry plant, but it exists to promote competition with these other manga, such as My Hero Academia and Boruto, which Boruto also comes out. And the big deal with Boruto is very divisive, but sells well to kids. That's undeniable. It just sells well to kids, and it just, the manga, even before the anime came out, was just huge, riding off of the name of Naruto. Whether you like it or not, it's successful, and you can't deny that. But, speaking of success, the thing that brought shonen anime to the mainstream, the thing that brought it all to light, the thing that made people stop being scared to talk about anime, releases the manga in like 2016, 2017, the anime in 2017, 2018, I think, if I'm getting my dates correct. Demon Slayer. My bad. Demon Slayer. Again, won't talk about my feelings of this anime or this series, but I will tell y'all that shonen would not be as big as the anime as a whole would not be big like it is right now if it wasn't for Demon Slayer. You motherfuckers ate that shit up. I don't know what happened. It looked nice, I guess, but I don't know how y'all got there, but it's huge, okay? Demon Slayer, very, very notable, very, very notorious. Riding off of Demon Slayer's success, Jujutsu Kaisen, yeah, again, it's just basically solidified that shonen is here to stay. Not only shonen, but anime as a whole, but shonen's like the main form of anime that people are okay with watching because some of them, well, at least, especially the big ones, Demon Slayer and JJK, you don't really have to put too much thought into. It's just a casual sit down, watch niggas beat the shit out of each other, we're having a good time, we're having a good day, okay? I get it, right? I understand. But these two brought Shonen Jump great success. Demon Slayer even outsold One Piece at one point. One Piece would later go on to become the highest selling comic series of all time, I believe, even past Superman. But Demon Slayer at one point in time, you gotta remember, did outsell even One Piece in Japan. You know? So these series basically prove like, hey, anime is now the thing. It's out of mainstream animation, anime is the new thing. Okay, another thing we get at this point is Promised Neverland, which kind of has the same flow as Demon Slayer and JJK, except for the opposite reason. And like, obviously Promised Neverland does fall off, right? And it's not as big now as it was. But if you guys remember, the time that the anime for season 1 was airing weekly, it was huge. It was gigantic. And I'd describe it as a diamond in the rough. But it brought thought-provoking content into the mainstream. Like, it provided a show that later on would be like a baseline for Dr. Stone to build itself off of, which was thought-provoking content in the mainstream. You know, like stuff that you can sit down and watch, but it really does, like, you're gaining more from it, you know? However, this was at the cost of the second season of the anime going to absolute dog shit. But what are you gonna do? And then we have something that's very unprecedented, which is our final big series for the modern era, which technically the series started in 2019, 2020, that's true. And there are other series ongoing right now, but they haven't had time to be influential, so this is where we're gonna end off for now. But we have Chainsaw Man. Here's the deal with Chainsaw Man. It had no reason to succeed the way that it did. It's something that succeeded despite all odds. By all accounts, it shouldn't be as big as it is. Not only is it, like, a big manga, but, like, it's a big manga outside of Japan. Like, you guys don't realize the West is crazy for Chainsaw Man. Like, the Japanese fans love it, don't get me wrong, but the West has an unnatural affinity for this manga. And they love it, including me. Okay, I'm there with you. I'm a big CSM fan. But I have never seen the release of an anime be as hyped as it is for CSM. Also, before we continue with CSM, I will say there are other influential series that probably aren't mentioned here and there on the list, especially in the modern era, because we are missing a big one that also helped bring shonen into the limelight, or should I say anime as a whole into the limelight, not necessarily shonen, because it's no longer shonen, or classification, but Attack on Titan. It's because of the animators for Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover, and Attack on Titan that Chainsaw Man is also as hyped up as it is, because they have a track record. They're known for how good their animation is, and I could do an entire video on Mappa. People wouldn't like it, because it's not going to be a good video, but it builds up hype for Chainsaw Man. I've never seen a release be as hyped up as Chainsaw Man's anime release is going to be. Chainsaw Man comes out later this month, and I'll probably be doing videos on it. But just know that if the manga is already as big as it is online, the anime being a mainstream thing, is CSM has the potential to be the biggest anime of all time, even over Demon Slayer and Dragon Ball. If it's as hyped up worldwide as people would lead you to believe. these have been the eras of Shonen Jump. I just wanted to break down, a little bit of history here and there and talk about inspirational series and how we got to where we are now, basically. I could go more in depth on the actual history of Shonen Jump, but I feel like people are more interested in the series that they release and not the company itself, because even though I am a fan of business, most people aren't. So, we're not gonna talk too much about the boring details. I might do a separate video on the business side of things for the company. We'll be doing more videos. Like I said, this is going to lead into a series that leads into me reading every single Shonen Jump manga. It's been a lot of recording, a lot more. It's been a longer time than I thought it would be, but here we are. As you can tell, wasn't scripted. Should have been, but fuck it. I don't care. Let me know what y'all think on each of the ages as well down below. I know I asked about a comment earlier, but I'll ask again. Which age is your favorite when it comes to content? The Dark Ages, the Silver Age, the Golden Age, or the Modern Age? Do you believe the Silver Age is the true Golden Age and that the Golden Age is a Bronze Age? There are some people like that. They're not a big fan of the big three because they brought everything to the mainstream, because they're a bunch of fucking weirdos that don't like seeing their favorite things succeed. Do you think, like I said earlier, the digital age, is it a platinum age or a bronze age, a peak or a plateau? Let me know. But with that, it's been your girl, King Kyoma, aka the Shonen Historian, aka the GOAT, aka Suno. And I'll see y'all later.